Forrest Blanton's. Wow. That's different. I really like that. Peychauds or Pechaud's or Pechaud.
Yeah, now I'm gorgeous. Although probably fuzzier was better.
Okay. So this is not what I expected. Hello. Happy Halloween, almost. It's the end of October. It is the end of Sober October, and away we go. We're wrapping up this month. I've done pretty okay. On the nights that I had to have a pour, that I really wanted to pour, it was like a pour and a half. Last night I decided I wanted to have something I don't love, just so I wouldn't drink a lot of it, and I had like a glass, like a shot and a half of, which would have been about 2 ounces, of Angel's Envy Rye. Very sweet. Tasty, it's got a tang to it, but I don't love it. I like the regular Angel's Envy a lot more than Angel's Envy Rye. But either way, we got had a little something. Tonight we're going to wrap up Sober October with Basil Hayden. I'm not a huge fan of Basil Hayden. We've tried this a couple times, but never given it its very own Bourbcast. We're going to do this, and we're going to do the Basil Hayden Toast. They are 2 different mash bills. It's not just a toasted barrel. We'll get into that just a little bit. But first we're going to do the regular Basil Hayden. Hope you guys have some great plans for Halloween, and hope you have plans for a designated driver as you get out there and have a good time. I want to make sure that you're all here back with us after Halloween weekend to enjoy these. This is Bourbcast, I think, 122, maybe 123. I think it's 122. And we're wrapping it up with an 80 proof pour that I've always thought was not worth the hype and was overly expensive. But we're going to get into Basil Hayden and talk about it a little bit. Here's the nitty gritty. Basil Hayden Bourbon is one of 4 bourbons that comprise Jim Beam's small batch bourbon collection. It kind of shares a family. Hey, Kevin, Austin, how are you guys? I'm glad you're here. It's good to be here. I'll tell you why it's so good to be here in just a minute. No, let's tell you now. We'll get into Basil Hayden in just a minute. So I did something 24 hours ago that is out of my character. I'm a very friendly guy, right? I'm a very, very nice guy. I try not to let myself fall into hyperbole. Well, there was somebody who did something really stupid, and it made me angry, and I put on the book that I thought he needed his butt whooped. I didn't even swear. I said, he needs his butt whooped. I got put on a 24-hour restriction. I got put in Facebook jail for 24 hours because I told this page I was on that somebody deserved to have their butt whooped. Now, I grew up getting my butt whooped. I think I turned out okay. This guy, who needed it, obviously didn't go through a lifetime of getting his butt whooped. So my restriction ended minutes before this Bourbcast started. Minutes. We went out to eat, and we were eating Chinese food, and I was sitting there going, oh, this is going to be bad, because I can't even get on and tell anybody what's going on. Oh. But here we are. We're here. All right. Okay, Basil Hayden. One of 4 bourbons that comprise Jim Beam's small batch bourbon collection. The others that it shares, its kin, its family, is Knob Creek, Baker's Bourbon, and Booker's Bourbon. We have not done Baker's yet, and we will. I've got some. I've got some good stuff with Baker's. Basil Hayden falls first in line as far as the proof. It's 80 proof, and that's one of the problems I've always had with it. They make a big deal out of this 80 proof bottle, and is it worth it? Is it worth the money? I mean, it's kind of an expensive bottle. You're looking $50-$60 for some of these. They've got the new different batches out, and those are $60-$65 depending on where you go. Whether it's Ohio or out of state somewhere. And, it just seems like it's too much money to spend for 80 proof. I mean, I'm not a snob when it comes to proofs. If it's good, then it's good. But I don't know of anything that's 80 proof that deserves a $60 price tag? Nothing. I mean, not even the small batches. I mean, I understand you're trying to raise money and you're trying to do... This comes from Beam. It doesn't need to raise any money, right? So I've just been really critical about the fact that it's an 80 proofer and it's expensive for that 80 proof. But let's get back into it. Let's see. While the other 3 bourbons in the small batch collection all share the same mash bill of 77% corn, 13 rye, and 10% malted barley, this one is a little different. It's 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% malted barley. So it may not have quite the sweetness, and it may be a little bit more spicy because of the rye. At least you like to think so. This Basil Hayden, by the way, shares that high rye mash bill with Old Grandad and Old Grandad 114. So if you like Old Grandad, this is the same mash bill as that. Okay, so let's get into this first. Just give this a try. Again, I've had this before. It's been a while because it's just not a favorite pour. And I'll get into this and I'll tell you why. And we'll see if I haven't been drinking much this week, so maybe it'll be better for me since I haven't been drinking. We'll see. Okay, so first off, I'm glad I grabbed a Glencairn because the nose is really timid on this. It's there, but you got to search for it. Right off the top, I'm getting strawberries. There's some cinnamon in there. Thanks, Tom. Old Grandad 114, good stuff. That is one I've not yet done on the Bourbcast. I have some, I just haven't done it yet. You know, you got to do each one at a time. And I don't try these things without you there. I don't try a new bourbon. Well, I guess I've done this one. But generally speaking, I won't try a new bourbon unless you're there to do it with me. So, anyhow. Maybe some brown sugar. Maybe a little maple. I know I'm supposed to do this with my mouth open, but my septum doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Okay. Anyway, so I'm not getting any fruit on the nose. The high rye is kind of taking over. It's getting that those cereals, those toasted cereals. You know, the breads, the grains. I'm getting that in the mash bill as well. That strawberry just on top, just a little bit. All right. By the way, I have a report. I told you last week I gave my friend that bottle of Crown Peach. He said he did something with it, put it with something else, and he said it was fantastic. He loved it. Austin says, Basil is the newbie bourbon that I usually start people out on. Low on proof, light, not overwhelming for those who are just getting into whiskey. And you have all good points there, Austin. I will tell you in a minute why I don't introduce new bourbon drinkers to this one. Let's put this down the hatch, and I'll get there. All right. There it was. Never fails every time it does this. This being the first pour I've had in a couple days. This being, well, no, the Angel's Envy was last night. But I didn't have very much of it. Okay, anyway. On the palate, when it first gets there, it does nothing. There's nothing. There's barely even any flavor. There's a little bit of that rye toasted cerealness on the front, but very little else. This time I let it sit there like I do for every bourbon that I try, and I let it sit there for 10, 12 seconds, and I did feel a bloom. Normally I drink this after I've had something a little higher proof, and the bloom is gone before it even gets a shot, right? So, but this time I did get a nice bloom, and it did what I wanted it to do. It does what I want blooms to do. this to start in the center of my tongue and move its way out. That burn, that alcohol burn, I call it a bloom. It's a coffee term. A lot of people are starting to adopt it. I like it. I'm a trendsetter. What is it? I'm an influencer. Anyway, so it did that, and it did that right. But the thing about Basil Hayden for me, I like most of Basil Hayden, not just the Caribbean cask finish. I haven't tried that one yet. Basil Hayden for me gets its wow factor and its flavor on the back as it's going down, right? I like to taste my bourbons up here in the palate. And for me, it's not giving me that flavor on the palate. Now, last week we tried the Jesse James, and Jesse James had a nice ethanol bite for only an 80 proof pour. This one does too, but not where it belongs. Again, this presents itself to me in the back of my throat. And that's not where I want to taste my bourbons. I want to taste it up front. Now, that being said, I've given it its chance. I've given it its burn. I've had the bloom. We'll try it with OJ. That's what it was. Thanks, Tom. Crown peach, orange juice, and crushed ice. He did put a little peach schnapps in there with it. And then after like the first one, he decided, why put schnapps in there? And he just did regular peach and just loved it. And he had like 2 of them that night and another one the next morning. So I've created a monster, a crown peach monster. Cha 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 cha. Okay. Halloween, isn't it fun? So stupid. All right, here we go. All right. Now that I've given this a chance, I let it sit on the palate a little bit. I'm getting bananas. Some kind of nut, maybe pecan, or I want to say hazelnut, but it just doesn't fit that profile. It doesn't fit a hazelnut profile to me. It's not sweet enough. It could be that. It could be even pistachios. It's a sweeter nut. Pecan isn't really a sweet nut, I guess. It'd be more of an almond, maybe. That's what it is. It's almonds. So I'm getting a little bit. Now that's that rye. That's that high rye. That's that toasted cereal side of things. Bananas, not so much. But that high rye is giving me that nuttiness, which, for the first time, I actually got a taste of Basil Hayden that I liked. That was very interesting and very unusual. Again, I tend to be so critical of this bottle because it's too expensive and it saves everything for the back. But that time, I actually got some flavor out of it. Let's do it again. Maybe I'll get some more. Or maybe I won't. Okay. It's got some nice bite for an 80. Again, that's way back here. It does have some bloom if you let it sit long enough. Most people aren't going to let it sit long enough. Again, when you're, guys, gals, when you're giving somebody a tasting and they're not used to whiskey, they're coming off of wine or they're coming off of beer or they're coming off of a Walmart whiskey, something like that, you got to teach them. And you got to get them past that first 10 to 12 seconds the first time they dram it, first time they get that in there because, they'll enjoy the drink a lot more after they've gotten past that first ethanol burn. That's just a fact of it. That's just how it works. Now that I've gotten past that first ethanol burn, and I'm not comparing it to anything else, I'm finding that I'm enjoying it more than I've ever enjoyed Basil Hayden before. Now, I will also say that this bottle has been opened before. This is, I think, the second bottle of this I've ever owned. The first one, I finished it quickly because I didn't like it, and I wanted it out of my collection. This one I kept, and now that I'm giving it third, fourth, fifth opportunity to shine, it's still not shining, but I'm getting more out of it than I've ever gotten out of it before. And the flavors there on the palate, again, that banana, that almond, is not bad. I wish there was more of it. That's, I think, my biggest problem. This could be very, very good if they gave this as much attention as they do Booker's or Knob Creek or Baker's. Other siblings in the family. If they would give this the same attention that they gave the other ones, give it another 10% or another 5%. Give it another 10 proof. Something. And lower the price. All right. It's a small batch, but it's too expensive for a small batch. And it ain't a small batch. Not if you ask me. All right, one more. All right, there's more flavor on the front of this than I'm used to. And it's been open a while, so maybe that has something to do with it. The other times I've had Basil Hayden has been a neck pour. It's been a fresh crack, and I haven't gotten much out of it. This one I'm enjoying more than I ever have before, which is not enough to tell you to go buy it. I'm going to hold on to it, right? I'm going to keep my curmudgeonness going on. Just because there's some brands I just don't like, and I don't want to end up liking it down the road just because it had a chance with me. Like, no, you've had your chance before, and you've spurned your chance. All right. This is about a milliliter of water. Again, it's 80 proof, so when you add a milliliter of water to 80 proof, you might open up some flavors. You might improve the mouthfeel, which is not thin for this. It's not creamy, but it's okay. It's a decent mouthfeel. But you are lowering the proof a little bit. So if you had ethanol in it, it may not be there any longer. Let's give it a shot. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Daiquiri. Try it with OJ. Okay. To me, that just sounds... I mean, I'm glad you liked it, Tom, but peach and OJ. I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me. But then I'm not a mixer. I don't mix things. In November, I've got a committee meeting. We're going to get together and we're going to talk some things. And I have been appointed the bartender. Whee! I'm actually looking forward to it because there's a city council person going to be there. There's a judge that's going to be there. The committee is made up of highfalutins, right? And I am. I'm just a media guy and a guy who wants to learn how to bartend better. Give me more to drink. Thank you, Poppy. But they've nominated me as the bartender, and the judge likes Angel's Envy, not the rye, just the regular Angel's Envy. And the city councilman is saying, well, you going to bring stuff to mix that with? And I'm like, mix Angel's Envy? So I'm going to bring an Angel's Envy that we can sip neat and enjoy. And if they want me to make a drink with it, I will. But I'm also going to bring along the Rittenhouse Rye, which is like tailor-made for Old Fashions and Manhattans and Sazeracs and yum num 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 num. So I'll bring along that too. The toasted isn't so bad. We're getting there, Kevin. Don't jump ahead of me, nah. Kevin? Okay? All right. We're getting there. All right. So this is with a little water. Yeah, if you're a beginning drinker and you want the flavor and not the bite, put a little water in it because it killed the ethanol. That ethanol is... It's... That ethanol is gone. I saw a guy in a restaurant tonight with the new Halloween movie shirt. I don't know where he would have gotten it so quickly. I don't know if he saw a premiere somewhere and got a shirt. Very cool. Halloween Kills, I think is what it's called. Or Last Halloween, or I don't know what it's called. But I think I would like to see this one. I've never seen a Halloween movie in the theater. I think this one I would like to see. All right, let's go for flavor with water on it. It did increase the viscosity in the mouthfeel. It's like it bulked it up. It's like it plumped it, It's really tough to describe. A mouthfeel that's a little bit thin, that you can add a little bit of water to and just have it coat your mouth a little bit better, add a little viscosity to it, which is, again, is a terrible word to describe the feeling of bourbon in your mouth, but it matters. And in this case, it did add nicely to the mouthfeel, but it took away the ethanol. The flavor's still there. I will say this. Whereas before I wasn't getting much flavor on the palate, adding water to it brought the flavor forward. And it's not bad. It's still not worth what we're paying for it. There are so many better pours out there for a lot less money. Knob Creek being one of them. Old Granddad being one of them. And that's the same mash bill as this. But at least I have some flavor on the palate where it belongs, and it's not waiting until it goes down the gullet to do it. So adding water to this may not be the worst idea in the world. Maybe I added too much water to it in a milliliter, add maybe half of what I did. But that definitely helped a little bit. All right. Now, Kevin was on me last week because I did, and maybe the week before, either or, because I didn't do ice. So we'll do Basil Hayden over a gorgeous ice sphere. All right, I'm not going to do much of this because I still have to do the toast. Just enough to cool it off. This is more Basil Hayden than I've had in one sitting ever. And I do have a write-up on toast as well, so you're going to find out what makes them different. And it's more than just the barrel, which is actually kind of cool. It's still only 80 proof. The toast is only... Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. Stop. We'll get there. All right. Cool us down. Cooling. Finger looking good. All right. All right. This is one of those very, very few bourbons. Very few. Like infinitesimal. That I think may present itself best on ice. You would not have been able to tell. This is the first time I've had this on ice. On an ice sphere that's not going to dilute it quickly. It's not going to melt and add a bunch of water to it. That's diluting. It was able to maintain some ethanol bite, and it brought out some flavor. For all I know, they made this bottle, this pour, to be served on ice. And I would imagine there's a whole science behind that, if that's the truth. But there are very few that I've tasted over this 122 Bourbcasts and beyond that I thought was best on ice. And this may be one of them. It may be best on ice. That's really not bad. All right, let's get out the toast. Right there. If it had been a snake, it bit me. Fresh glass. Now, the toast is just a little bit different. It has a different mash bill. And when I first figured this out, well, I first read about it, I didn't know that to begin with. And I thought, oh, okay, that's cool. Basil Hayden Toast is Jim Beam's fourth permanent edition in the Basil Hayden brand line, following this one, the standard bourbon, the 10-year Kentucky Straight Bourbon, and dark rye whiskey. There are more beyond that. Caribbean cask. There's a new one that's in a wine cask. I used to have the box down here. I don't anymore. Toast introduces a new bourbon mash bill for the brand that replaces the rye in this one. Remember, this one is 63% corn, 27% rye. Yeah, 10% malted barley. This one is the same except for the rye is replaced with brown rice. 27% brown rice. I didn't know that about this until tonight. Toast also undergoes a secondary toasted barrel finish for an undisclosed amount of time. After aging, the bourbon is pulled and additional brown rice bourbon is blended in and proof down to 80. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Other than that, I mean, it looks pretty standard. It's all right. So, is it bourbon? It's got rice in it. Is it bourbon? Yes. Bourbon has to have 51% corn. There are no other requirements of bourbon. So, having the rye replaced with brown rice still makes it a bourbon. All right. I've only tasted this once. You can tell there's not much gone from this bottle. Of the two, the toast is just a little bit darker. Just a smidge. Sweeter on the nose. More sugars, brown sugars on the nose. Some cinnamon. No hint of any fruit like strawberry or anything like that. No banana on the nose. Honey. Okay, all right. This one definitely has more flavor on the palate. Again, neat, it tends to save it towards the back, which is my problem with Basil Hayden all through the line. But this one does have, and again, I'm primed. I've already had this one, so I'm primed a little bit for that stuff to happen on the palate. But this one does have a slightly more flavorful palate. I was paying attention to the mouthfeel and the ethanol burn, which was there. It was nice, more than I was the flavor. So let me get into it again. Not drinking through October, and now this is what, 4 little drinks of 80 proof, and I'm feeling this. I shouldn't be feeling this. I'm glad that I am. It means that I did something right through Sober October. But holy... That was me censoring myself. All right. That was not my stomach. Somebody flushed the toilet above me. You know, the rice gives very similar characteristics to the rye. It's got that toasted cereal type of flavor to it, but it's sweeter. This is not the only time that Jim Beam has tried a brown rice mash bill. They did it like in 2014 with something. It was a limited edition. Didn't go very far. But this is just something that's kind of an evolution of that idea. You know, the Maker's Mark. You know, they have the Maker's 46, which is the 46 was the number of the wood, the flavored wood that they put down in the barrel, right? That they aged that with. That was the number, the 46. So it's Maker's 46. Well, the finishing the series and the wood finishing series, all those are the same thing where they add these different staves to the barrel and they present it with new flavors. You can kind of look at this that way, where they've toasted the barrel just a little bit differently, and they've added in the rice component, and they did that experiment a long time ago, and now they've brought it into Basil Hayden, and they're doing it full time, and it's not bad. It's definitely more flavorful on the palate. Do a little water. We got to speed this up. We're already at a half hour. What foot? Does this make my foot feel better? I missed that. Never know. Got to run the gauntlet. Neat. Water, ice. If I remember, toasted was good on ice too. We're about to find out. Kicked up fuzzy navel. All right. So does it make the foot feel better? So on Saturday, I was cooking dinner and I tried to take the end of my finger off. I was using one of those slicers that you take the carrots and you go over top of it like this and you slice it on both sides, and I got my finger too close to the blade and I tried to take the end of my finger off. Part of the fingernail's gone. It's an ugly mess. It's terrible. Then Sunday I was rigging up a four-wheeler it was up on the trailer for the Halloween parade that we have here on Tuesday. Which was totally fun, but things got awry and my foot ended up in a place that it shouldn't have, and it got crushed by the weight of my trailer and my four-wheeler, and I'm pretty sure I have either a broken foot or a nearly broken foot. I've been walking on it. It doesn't like it when I do that, but it's not terrible. Some friends are saying, don't worry about the doctor, just leave it alone. Other friends are going, you should go to the doctor, dude. I haven't made up my mind. Does bourbon help? Yes. Yes. And Aleve. And tart cherry extract, which is a medication for gout. But yes, they all help. All right. I don't think I added water to this yet, did I? Just in case. On water, the flavors on this are much more pronounced. And again, they're in the right place. So in the front of the mouth, not in the back. Definitely a creme brulee. That's what it is. Creme brulee. That's actually kind of nice. I like that. It took a little bit of time. This has been opened before too. This is not a fresh crack. It's been opened once before, I don't know, months ago. And so this has had the benefit of having had some air come to it. There's some honey on that. The legs are nice. I can't believe I'm saying nice things about Basil Hayden. Somebody stop me. All right. That's actually really nice with a little water in it. Yeah. Okay. Now, I know this is a faux pas. You don't do this. I'm going to use the same ice sphere for toast. You notice that I try to separate ice and sphere when I say ice sphere. Otherwise, it sounds like ice sphere, which sounds like you're scared of ice. Ice! I cracked myself up. I don't need an audience. I'm funny to me. All right. We're almost done. And then I'll tell you what we're doing next week. Now that we're... Oh, my ice sphere just cracked in half. Now that we're going to be out of sober October, I'll tell you what's coming up next week here in just a minute. I can't believe I just did that. It's like there were 1,000 voices screaming and then suddenly silence. And scene. Alec Guinness in Star Wars, 1977. I crack me up. I make me laugh. All right, here we go. Okay, so what I said about ice on this one is not the same for this one. The flavors are better on water on this one than ice. Ice just kind of sedates everything. It's okay. This one's better on ice. This one's better on water. Both are better otherwise than neat to me, which is rare. All right. That was obnoxious. All right. So coming up next week, now that we're getting out of Sober October, we can get into Drink All You Want November. I just made that up. This one was recommended to me. We're going to try some unusual stuff in November. There's another one I'm going to get. I'm not going to tell you about it now, but there's one that's coming up that is just unusual. And you think about it and you're like, what? But it turns out that people are fans. There are people that love this pour, and we will get into that in November. But the one that we're going to do first is this one. Oh, this wasn't the one I wanted. It's over there. We'll do this then. Okay, I've got it here. This one just got introduced to Ohio. People are making a big deal out of this bad boy. This is Pursuit Limited. Cecil and Coleman Pursuit United, United, with glasses. It doesn't look like limited at all. It looks like United. Blended straight bourbon whiskeys. An adventure in bold flavors. This one is 108 proof. So, yeah, Sober October, bye-bye. But this one is one that is new to Ohio. It was recently introduced with a lot of fanfare. And it was introduced in different stores at different times, different parts of the week, different weeks altogether in the calendar. Some stores got it very, very early, and there was a big hubbub about its premiere, and other stores got it later, and they were all buy one only. They were all allocated right fresh smack out of the gate. So I am, although I was going to do something different that's over there, but this is the one that was there. So we're going to go ahead, since the hype is big on this one, we're going to go ahead and taste this one next week. This is Pursuit United. It's the bourbon. They do have a rye. We're doing the bourbon next week. So if you got your hands on a little bit of this, join me next week for Pursuit United as we get out of Sober October and into Drink All the Hell You Want in November. All right? So, guys, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'm going to bring some of this upstairs. I have a guest upstairs who may want to try some of this, so I'm going to take this upstairs for him to try. And we will see you next week. And next week I'll actually give you a photo of this somehow. Maybe I'll see if the local sheriff will let me put it on their light bars, right? Pursuit, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I'll talk to them. But then again, cops, bourbon, they may tell me no. They'll tell me no a lot, so we'll see. We'll see. All right. Guys, again, I want to say thank you for joining me, and we will see you again next week for the Pursuit United. You guys have a great Halloween. Be safe out there.